Avoiding mortgage pain. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance, written by Rebecca Davies, discussing how to ease mortgage pain amid rapid rising interest rates. Now, it's topical, isn't it? Rates are going up. The cash rate, for those of us all watching at home, we're up at 1.35%, and the banks are predicting nearly on a weekly basis that the cash rate will be over 3%. So it's going to reach levels that we haven't experienced, well, in a very long time. And they're going to be people that have been working for their whole career and have never experienced rates going up. Just think about that, everyone. I can barely remember the last time rates were going up. 2010, 11, that's just when we started our practice, I think it is. Got married around there sometime. It all becomes a blur. But I thought we'd have a look at this one because here on the channel, we've been discussing rate rises for some time. And you know what? I will bring up the Excel I like playing with. Interest rates are going up. We can see here, just the differences from coming off of 1.99 to, a new fixed rate or a variable rate. You're going to see big increases in your repayments. And the reason we've got 1.99 here is because that's what I managed to lock my mortgage in because I didn't trust the Reserve Bank when they said rates wouldn't go up until 2024. And I'm certain a lot of the viewers didn't either. So hopefully you're building up cash reserves or getting additional revenue or income so you can pay this difference when it comes, when it will appear, because it's coming, guys. So let's have a look. Let's see what advice they're saying here. How to ease mortgage pain amid rapidly rising rates. Now, well, what I would argue is that you should... Okay, well, no. I've had a mortgage for years now. I'm old. Okay, I'm not a first home buyer. So I'm kind of prepared for rates to go up because they'll be reaching closer to what they were before. But it's the people who just jumped in recently who maybe got a very low or really pushed themselves straight to the edge to get into that house. That FOMO drove them to jump in, maybe push them a little further than they would. We'll have to have a look at what advice they give those people to deal with the rates going up, because it's gonna be a hit for people. Those of us that locked in at a joke rate, and are going to have to cop reality, I mean, that's just part of life, and we've got to prepare for it. Okay, because honestly, because 1.99 sub 2% mortgage rates, we're never going to see them again unless they get stuff up. They stuff everything up again. But that was just crazy. So anyway, let's have a look. Let's see what they have to say here. So, a finance expert has urged home loan borrowers to take urgent action to cut costs as mortgage stress rises at alarming levels. Okay, that's good. I mean, we've had to do that in the past when times got tough, when we had a big project fall through. I think it was $500,000 in revenue disappear overnight for the next year, a big chunk of work. You really have to tighten your belt. And for some people, that is the wake-up call that they need to get their shit together and to get sorted. And honestly, I was hoping a lot of people did that during the pandemic and all the lockdowns there. But for some, this may be it. This may be what they need to do. I mean, because we're seeing other articles appear left, right, and center, and it's just teaching basic budgeting and financing and actually planning your grocery trip. Eating at home can save money. It's almost like we're getting out of our teenage years and we're starting to hit, midlife now as a nation. So people are having to grow up a little bit and I hate this term, but adult a bit more, maybe be a bit more responsible. Households are facing the threat of supersized successive rate hikes over the coming months, with one of Australia's big four banks forecasting the cash rate could hit 3.35% in November. True, yes, and I mean, this is closer to normal, everyone. That is closer to normal rates. What we've been paying for our money has been insane. And that's why housing shot up like nuts, because people had access to more money. The dire prediction from ANZ comes after the RBA lifted the cash rate to 1.35 earlier this month, its third consecutive increase of the year. It means borrowers with a modest $500,000 loan, 500,000. So let's have a look here. These are the average mortgages in each state. So 500 grand is WA, South Australia, and NT. Okay, no one in Queensland, you know what I mean. Isn't below average in Queensland, the ACT, Victoria, and New South Wales, and this is below average in all of Australia. So, I mean, you want to be below average when it comes to a mortgage. That's the goal. I've been watching the Dave Ramsey episode. You know, he's a finance guy in the US, a southerner. He's entertaining, but I like the debt-free screams. And hearing the stories of people just annihilating their debt and getting out of debt. And I know it's not the smartest thing to do. You know, you could be investing money in other things, particularly when it's so cheap. But it's just the stress reduction, isn't it? It's just the stress reduction. Anyway, let's keep going here. So for a modest 500 grand loan, could be scrambling to find an extra $968 per month. And those with $1 million loan will need to fork out as much as $1,938, according to financial comparison website CanStar. So you're looking at $2,000 a month extra if you've got $1 million loan. Now, here's the thing. $1 million isn't as much as it used to be, sadly. It's not as much as it used to be. Particularly if you've got someone who's just jumped into a mortgage for $1 million. And I remember when we were going to the bank for our mortgage, and they said, oh, you could borrow this much. And I'm going to Rachel going, that's nuts. That's nuts. And compared to the $1 million, that was barely anything. We didn't even want to borrow that much. And I guess it's more difficult because we're a small business. Try getting a mortgage as a small business person. It's easier for our staff to get one because they just tick boxes than it is as a business owner anyway. So, I mean, you're going to have people that are going to encounter reality and are going to have to start making some lifestyle changes. So far, the only advice has been cutting costs. And that's what I've been saying forever. I wonder if they'll go as extreme as my suggestion of taking up fasting so you can prep your body to skip meals if necessary, and then you can use that to get articles at the ABC and then get that as an alternative revenue source. Guys, this is all meta. You got to, one layer upon one layer. You got to play the woke shit up, and isn't it all victim mentality now? That's the way it goes. Oh, I'd be terrible. Anyway, the other banks are predicting a cash rate of 2.6% between November 22 and February 23, painting a bleak picture for households already struggling to cope with mounting cost of living pressures. Well, I don't think it's... Well, sure, mortgages are going to make a dent to people, but it's other stuff. Petrol is getting expensive. My sister-in-law bought a bloody pumpkin yesterday, $11 for one pumpkin, $11. You could get, a kilo of mince for that, for like $2 more. CanStar finance expert Steve Mickenbacker said homeowners need to start cutting costs now to prepare for higher repayments, suggesting they start with little research and paperwork. Rising interest rates should put a low-cost home loan at the top of every borrower's shopping list, he said. Interest rates are already up by 1.25% this year, with another 0.5% rate rise expected in August. Refinancing with 20% equity for an average variable interest rate of 3.85% to the lowest variable rate available now effectively means immunity for the next 1.31% rate rises. Okay, so cutting costs, but also looking at finding a cheaper mortgage, playing one bank off the other. Now, there's going to be a whole lot of people that can achieve that won't be a problem, but there's going to be others that are going to struggle. The trap of negative equity. You're not going to be able to go from one bank to the other if you've got negative equity, or your LVR is a dog's breakfast because you've taken on too much and some properties have fallen. So you're going to have to power through, and that's going to be cutting costs, and we'll see that in discretionary spending. That's where it'll appear. So optimize your offset account. Mickenbacker warned any money sitting in your savings account could be put to better use in your offset account attached to your home loan. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, here's the thing with offset accounts. The bank isn't doing you a favor anyway. They are doing you a favor, but it's the all money in clause. They can just hoover up all your money in all your bank accounts and do what they need to if they want to. Okay, that's why you need to keep your mortgage separate from your emergency savings, your emergency fund, your rainy day fund. You want to keep that separate just in case. You're going to miss out on the interest savings. But I mean, honestly, that's the advice that Ramsey would give you, to keep it separate. I'd put it all off the offset and just take the risk. But you've got to be aware of that risk. So that means you need to have a little extra stashed away, safe from the potential of that all money in, which is a very rare risk, but it depends on how much of a prepper you want to be. So, but he's right there, yep. An offset account is a transaction account that's linked to your home loan. I mean, that's now, it's earning you a decent return, 3.85%. That's decent. The account's balance or a proportion of the balance is offset daily against your home loan balance. I know one viewer was telling me he got a big inheritance from a family that was selling a family property, and his offset account now is, I think, equal to his mortgage. So now suddenly the bank wants to talk to him. He just stuck it all in there. Good on him. That's the dream. Anyway, this means you're only charged interest on the difference between the total loan balance and the amount offset. For example, if you have $10,000 sitting in an offset account linked to your home loan, based on the average variable rate of 3.69%, you could be shaving almost $400 off your interest bill in the first year, or close to $2,000 if you had a larger deposit of $50,000. He said the savings here outweigh the interest you could earn by having the same amount deposited into your high interest savings account in the market today. One thing I would also suggest, or one thing I started doing, is micro payments. So whenever you find any little money anywhere, chuck it off the mortgage. $5 here you save, chuck it off the mortgage. Sell some scrap metal, chuck it off the mortgage. Get those stupid bottles you recycle after shopping, put them in the thing, chuck that money off the mortgage. All these little pieces of money you just find, pocket money, that you'll normally fritter away or waste on something, just throw it on the mortgage. $10 here, $5 here, $3 here. And all of a sudden, oh, look at that. I'm a week ahead, I'm a month ahead, I'm 2 months ahead. Now, that's going to depend on the type of mortgage you have. If you've got a fixed one, you've got to talk to your bank before you do any of this to make sure you're not getting in trouble by making extra payments. But it's a good habit to get into. Switch to a no-frills loan. Aussie mortgage holders are also being encouraged to consider switching to a basic cheap home loan. However, while it could cut costs of regular repayments, it may also mean doing away with some features in exchange for the savings. He explained package loans typically come with benefits such as access to fee waivers for a transaction account, an offset account, credit cards with the annual fee waived, discounts on insurance, and discounts on free financial planning sessions. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff there. Get rid of the credit card. Do you need it? Do you need the credit card account? The offset account's the only thing I'd really want, honestly. Fees for transaction accounts, discounts on insurance, I'd want them separate. I'd go to an independent broker, not the bank, but anyway. Free financial planning. I mean, would you want financial planning at a bank? They've got a bias. Even some brokers, if they give you CommBank, they're required to, push so many CommBank loans every month or quarter or something. So you've got to understand, there's kickbacks galore in this industry, like in finance and property. It's such bullshit. As an architect, I can't get away with anything. I remember with, there was a professional practice lecture at university that Rachel was teaching in. And what they'd done is, and this is terrible, they'd mixed the architects with the industrial designers and the interior designers. Because, we're all designers, there's a lot of similarity there. But the interior designers can get kickbacks. So they can specify furniture and then get a kickback from the supplier or the manufacturer as payment for that. Now, as an architect, we can't do that. We'd get deregistered. So, and they were lecturing that to architects as well. Rachel raised it. She pointed this out, that the advice this lecturer was giving to the architects would deregister them, and suggested maybe the non-professions shouldn't be mixed with the professions, because as an architect, I'm an actual professional. There's an act and all this stuff, and I got to pay money, for consumer protection. Awesome. But with that comes responsibility. Other designers don't have that responsibility, and they have different fee structures that they get compensated for. And it's funny, after she pointed that out, she wasn't invited back to lecture. There you go. Has to all be happy family, doesn't it? Anyway, so let's get back to this. But in return for the package, for packaging all the products together, the lender typically charges an annual fee of $400. In some circumstances, he recommended opting for the basic loan if you're unlikely to use all of the extras. CanStar's data suggested this move could initially cut your interest rate by 1.35% and shave $397 off your monthly repayments, not to mention saving money on the average annual package loan fee. So negotiating like a new customer, Mickenbacker said existing borrowers often paid a higher rate than what was offered to new customers with the same lender. He urged mortgage holders to use this as a negotiation tool with the current lenders to make the switch to a new one who would lower your interest rate. CanStar's analysis shows borrowers taking out a new loan in May were securing a 0.46% discount compared to existing borrowers who were left forking out $123 more in monthly repayments and $44,000 more in interest over the life of the loan. Now, I had one viewer. Now, this viewer was a doctor, so they're coveted because the banks, they want the high value, mortgages, $1 million plus with the professional, debtors, really, the professional clients, the couple of two professionals, maybe one in a public service role or something like that. It's job security, pretty much. I remember all the people working for the department in Queensland here, the Department of Public Works. The banks would love them. They've got government jobs and they'd be running developments on the side. And the banks would just throw money at them because they're civil servants. Fortunately, Campbell cleared out a lot of that, so back to this. So, let's have a look here. Steer clear of interest only. An interest-only payment is when you only repay the interest on the amount you have borrowed for a set period of time. Mickenbacker said that while it meant lower minimum monthly repayments, you would end up paying more in interest over the life of the loan compared to principal and interest loans. He also warned borrowers could be up for larger repayment shock at the end of the interest-only period. I mean, that's for utter desperation and emergency, I'd say. They probably should have done this instead of giving everyone mortgage holidays. Seek help if you need it. Many families are already struggling to make ends meet amid mounting costs of living pressures. Mickenbacker urged those whose bills and loan repayments exceeded their income to ask their lender for a financial hardship arrangement before taking on additional debt. He said, this was an opportunity to negotiate an agreement with your lender to defer or reduce repayments, restructure loans, change repayments to interest only for a set period of time, or waive fees and charges. There is also free financial counselling available in Australia. The National Debt Helpline can be contacted on 1-800-007-007. So let's have a talk about this one, everyone. So some decent advice here about, cutting costs, playing the bank off each other, switching, going from one to the other, getting rid of all of the fluff on your mortgage that you don't need, avoiding the pitfalls of potentially going interest only, and getting help if you need it. Nothing really new here that we haven't heard many times before, but it's good and that this advice is getting out there. It's also a sign of the times that some people may be getting into trouble. I honestly think most professionals, a professional couple with, 2 six-figure salaries together that have borrowed a lot of money are probably going to get a wake-up call and have to grow up and face reality. I mean, we're going to see articles, the sob story bullshit, that's going to appear. Okay? The media will be all over that. We will see that. The only thing I would suggest to this is just try a spending freeze. A complete and utter spending freeze. No money spent. Try it for a week. See if you can do that. Even if you're not in financial trouble, just try and not spend a dime or a cent for a week. See if you can do it. And really see where your money's going. And then you'll learn what is a necessity and what's a luxury. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I produce here, there are a few ways you can help out. You can support us financially via YouTube or Patreon, use our referral links on Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Let me know if you've noticed an improvement in lighting. I've just got some new lights arrived. We'll see if it looks any better. I'll see you later.